Welcome to another episode of the Sport of Bowling Show. On this episode, we feature USBC Executive Director Chad Murphy, Team USA Head Coach Rod Ross,
Hey there, happy Wednesday and welcome to the Sport of Bowling Show. We've got a great show for you today. I'm dressed out in 1998 Team USA jacket. I hope everybody's excited about that. I pulled it out this morning and thought, man, what a great day this is going to be in celebrating our Team USA program, some of the athletes, but specifically our head coach. Coach of the program for a great number of years, is stepping down into retirement today. And so a good chance to pull the jacket out, put it on, and remember what it all means and what it feels like. Team USA is just a wonderful program that we do spend a lot of time here at the campus thinking about and really positioning, and world championships, right? A big word. Nobody knows that word better than Coach Rod Ross. And so I look forward to Rod joining us. I was on the team back in 1998. I would tell you it was a game changer in my life. It was something that I didn't know much about at the time, but I knew I wanted to be a part of it. And it's just amazing when you think about it. 682 athletes are listed, give or take a few, on bowl.com that are members of what I call the Team USA fraternity. And they can all talk about it in their own special ways, but the word that I would use is special. 263 of those are members of the junior team. An interesting fact for you, Coach Ross has been or had his hands or brain as part of educating 52% of that list in his career, which has spanned all the way back to 2002 and with this program, including 251 of the 263 kids on the website. It's just incredible when you think about it. It's amazing. And I look forward to spending some time talking to Rod and celebrating his career. And we're going to have more special guests on this show than we've ever had. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing from some of the athletes and what they have to say. Just to start off the show, not going to spend a lot of time thinking or talking about it, but want to, just take a second and really just wish everyone well out in California, but the larger bowling world. Terry Leung passed away this week of COVID-19. Terry was a good friend to bowling, but a friend to so many of us. He was a guy that just remembered he had every story, remembered every detail of all the conversations that he'd had. I know his death is going to be far-reaching into our sport because he was just such a wonderful human being, a great ambassador for bowling. And so we're thinking about Terry's family and, of course, all of his friends, and our hearts and thoughts and prayers are with them at this time. In the larger world, a lot of crazy things still going on with COVID. Our thoughts and prayers are with the bowling center proprietors who have been certainly impacted the most. Our members who, aren't being able to compete like they'd like to, but hang in there. Really looking forward, have been following news about the vaccine, and that light seems to be there that maybe wasn't there 3 or 4 months ago. So really optimistic about our chances into the first part of the year. And getting on to the rest of our lives, if you will. I know this virus has impacted everybody in different ways, but no, we're thinking about everybody and looking forward to the future. So with that, as always, Gianmarc from Bowler's Journal is going to join us. GM, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey, I'm well, Chad. How are you?
You doing all right? What's going on in South Florida?
Well, God forbid, it's about 55 degrees outside, so no one down here knows quite what to do with themselves for that reason. But more locally here in my position with Bowler's Journal, it's an extremely busy week. It's an extremely busy moment in the week. We've got our issue deadline for the January book. And I'm hard at work, in particular on the cover feature, which in part involves a section that I'm really excited about, which is a players to watch initiative. And we've chosen 4 players, one from each of 4 different sort of demos, youth bowling, college bowling, PWBA, and PBA. I'm not going to give away who they are, but I do think as I'm working on these and going over my interviews that I've done with them, that people are going to learn something about each of these individuals that they didn't know before, even if that individual may be someone they're familiar with seeing on TV, for instance. And I'm excited about that.
Sounds great. Sounds wonderful. I look forward to reading about it. It's 76 here today in Dallas-Fort Worth, if you're interested. So we've traded positions, I think. But thanks for all the good work you're doing with Bowlers Journal. If you don't mind, GM, you've been covering Team USA for a lot of years. You used to work in the building.
Yep.
I woke up excited this morning in thinking about what we were going to do today, but also was trying to think of the last time, something that was so far-reaching took place as somebody like Rod, stepping down and retiring from bowling. He's just been so involved in so many ways, and I couldn't really think of one. But you've been following this for forever. What perspective might you have about Team USA, the larger market, the magazine, everything that goes with it?
Well, I think Team USA puts a great face on bowling internationally. Bowling has become, even over the course of my time writing about the sport, just going back to my time within the building at USBC, it's become so much more intensely international. So I have seen Team USA with each passing year become a more relevant and needed aspect of what the bowling industry is about. Certainly with regard to our Olympic efforts over the years, it's been an important piece of that. And I know it's going to continue. I know we had a little bit of a setback in 2020 with suspending it because of the things that you were just talking about with COVID. But I also know that the program will rebound spectacularly, and it's going to continue to be a really important element of what the bowling industry is about and what it provides.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Nothing like it, putting on the red, white, and blue and competing for your country. And it's really a small group. We're going to talk about that with Rod a little later on. But you think about, 1.3 million members, certainly used to be a little bit bigger than that. But then you get down to a group that is selected or earned their way onto a team like this and then competing all over the world for these medals. It's just amazing. And so I'm looking forward to that. If it's okay, because I know we've got some guests, Gianmarc, I'm going to go ahead and bring Rod in. I've got a little bit of an opening here, and then we've got a video that we're going to play, and then we'll invite Rod in. But, how do you start talking about the accomplishments when they're, this big, this great, or where? I'm going to try and summarize a 40-year career into 20, then to 10. There's just so much goodness here. It's just amazing. Rod's been, to use a word, a trailblazer for this industry since day one. Whether it be within the pro shop industry, the manufacturers, of course, Team USA, at the local center level, Rod himself, how he educates, but also his technology, his teachings, his brain, sharing what's inside of it for everyone that's taken it in. He's provided education for this industry for decades. It's been an education that, quite honestly, I'm not sure where bowling would be without it. It has dramatically impacted bowling, Team USA, of course, and all the athletes that have competed on the lanes wearing the red, white, and blue. Rod started drilling balls in his garage, of all places, working outside the industry. Then a couple pro shops in Idaho. He went to work for Nick Melnikoff at Bowler's Paradise for a little while. Then back into business for himself with Bowler's Connection Pro Shop, a full-service shop in San Jose, California, then Pacifica. I remember for anybody that's been to Sea Bowl and looked out into the ocean as a unique piece of this journey. His biggest move at that time, I think, was a startup in Manteca, California that came to become what is now known as the first true bowling training center on the West Coast. 4 lanes inside a bowling center. That were used to teach and coach exclusively. Along the way, he developed a physical analysis system called Bowler's Map, then a ball tracking system called Digitrax, which were first of their kind training tools within bowling. CATS was available at the time, but these were all new era training tools that set the baseline for so many of the training tools that are offered today by so many places around the world. He then became part of the Team USA program in 2002 with the junior team, advanced to head coach of the junior team in 2004. He was added to the adult team in 2007, which led him to leading the entire program starting in 2010. He's also spent the last 10 years leading the day-to-day operations of the International Training and Research Center, where he has continued to educate the bowling world on why these things are so important, how to do it better, but then also why this must continue to evolve and improve over time. A trailblazer, always a teacher, an educator, an instructor, a coach of the red, white, and blue. His teams have delivered hundreds of medals and 25 world championships, 7 Pan Am golds, in addition to 3 World Cup titles. As head coach of the program, Team USA has held the World Championship team gold medals of the men, women, boys, and girls all at the same time. It's unprecedented, all in service to a sport that he's been dedicated to his entire life. His impact on this sport is so immense, it's certainly hard to explain, but let's please spend an hour together and try to celebrate it. Please welcome Rod Ross to the show. Rod, can you hear me? How are you?
I'm doing well, Chad. I can hear you well. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. There's so much to this. I don't know if you want to start with a little bit of an opening. I know you've got so many people that I'm sure are in your thoughts, but start us off in however you would like to.
Yeah, this was hard. This was a hard decision. Got a lot of friends and a lot of players and coaches, But it came time. 2020, created the different issues, and looking back, and like I said, it was hard, but I'm at peace with it. It was a little hard listening to what you just said, though, because it's almost like a funeral. It's been fun.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that. And I know when you called and we talked about it a few weeks ago, it seemed so obvious that this, you felt like this was the right time, and it was so clear to you. Obviously, I walked away from it a little bit, sad and thinking about the future of it. But then it's so reflective in thinking about it. I appreciate you pointing out the funeral nature of it. But I know that you're going to be doing things for a long time moving forward, and we really wish you the best. I just set this up for everybody that's watching, and Rod, if you don't mind sharing, Rod's a guy that doesn't ever talk about Rod, right? It's almost always about somebody else, and so we really have positioned this show with a lot of other people that are going to be talking about Rod. But Rod, help them understand, how you're wired in that way, and why it's so important that while this is you and you did all of this, and thank you for your service in doing it, but how you would just reflect on that.
Yeah. I always felt that a coach or a teacher or anything like that, you're there to help them achieve their goals or whatever they want. But, there's time you got to step back. You need to step out of the way and everything. And everything that we've done on the team has always been a team effort. All the coaching staff, all the helpers, all the managers, everything. The success of the program is because of the program. And the program is, bigger than any one individual, and it'll continue on. And that is probably one reason that I chose this time to do it now, is because there's a pause in the program. And it's probably the easiest time to make a transition for it to continue growing forward, So, I'm not one of those guys that's going to go up there on the medal podium with my player and hold the cup with them, because they did it. We're just part of the process to help them get there to achieve their dreams and such. But the whole point of the coaching is that you're there to help the athlete.
Yeah, I just reflection. If you think about it, I'm not sure that there's ever been a position that was more qualified to have you in it, mostly because of the way you look at it, the team, the humble nature of what it's really about. And I just, have been proud to kind of walk it with you over the last few years. But it's amazing to watch in the way that you go about it. And it really is all about everybody else. But again, we're going to do our best to celebrate Rod Ross today. I'm going to bring Gianmarc in. Gianmarc, you have anything you want to start off with Rod just to get us going?
Well, I love what you said about Rod's humility, because I think if I recall correctly, there was a moment several years ago when the Team USA program, or it might have been the junior team, got the opportunity to walk out in the ballpark down there in Arlington during a Texas Rangers game and be introduced to the crowd. And I think Rod did not even want to go out there with the players. He wanted to stay, on the sidelines because he was so dedicated to the spotlight just being on the players themselves. I never forgot that. That really, above anything else, showed me that Rod really, this is not about Rod. It's never been about him in his mind. Even though those of us who know Rod appreciate Rod's brilliance, appreciate the scientific innovation that he's brought to the industry. I certainly do. I have to say, just a quick memory chat about working in the building at USBC. And Rod, I remember there were times when I would go downstairs to the training center with a question for him about a story I was working on. And sometimes I would go to him excited to regurgitate something that had been told to me by someone else that was really beyond my knowledge. And I would say this to him, and it would be off base in some important way. Right. And Rod would waste absolutely no time in making sure I was aware that what I was saying was ill-informed and corrected me right on the spot. And he did it in an almost brutally honest way that I always frankly appreciated, because then I knew, thanks to Rod, I was not going to say that stupid thing to anyone else. So that's just one little side note I wanted to share about interacting with Rod throughout my career as a bowling writer.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And Rod, if you don't mind, because one of the things that I think is unique is all these players are different, right? So how you attack that. But just like Gianmarc, would you mind explaining to us how you would do that with Chris Barnes? In that, how do you correct one of the greatest bowlers in the world? Because I know it happens.
Yeah, it's happened a few times. I think a coach always needs to be able to look at the personality of the player, how they think, how they look at things, really listen to them and their body language of what they're trying to express. And sometimes as a teacher, coach, you kind of want to walk them to where you need them to get, but you got to figure out the path to get there. You just can't say you're wrong. I'm sorry, Gianmarc, I didn't mean to be that blunt with you. But sometimes you got to let them see it their way before they'll open their mind to be able to see it another way. It all depends on the competition and the situation, but sometimes, players have thrown the wrong ball, any of us, or played the wrong part of the lane, and that we felt but we got to let them do that. Yeah. They got to have that freedom to be able to do that, because that's the only way they're going to grow.
Yeah. And it's in doing research for this show, Rod, there were just certain things that stood out to me that I just couldn't get past. And one of them was looking at all the different names and different personalities. And I think anybody who's coached knows that, some of this is psychology for sure, which is what you just laid out. But when I say 682 players, and that you've, worked with 360 of them, including 251 of 260, you think it's 52% of everybody that's ever been on that program. And on the kids side, you were there, pretty much since day one of the program. What are you thinking when I fire up those numbers?
That I'm old. I was astounded by those numbers. I was really shocked. I know I've been in the program, and a lot of players have been through the junior team and through the adult team, and working with a lot of players over the years, but I had no idea that. I just hadn't tracked that. And being a data guy, I'm a little surprised that I haven't checked that. But
yeah, it was just flipping through them, and some of them are some of the best players on the PBA and PWBA tour. Others are successes in life, and you start picking off the names, and it really is just amazing. If you don't mind, just share some of the things that stand out, the relationships that you have with some of those players today that really are kind of first in your mind.
Well, they're all family. It's you get to a point, especially in the training camps, and then when you're traveling internationally or you're flying, that you get to be very close with a lot of them. And some of the stuff that they will share with you is, pretty private. but you have that relationship and they have that trust in you that they share because, even though we're going to competitions or training camp, life happens and they have stuff going on in their lives back home that's really going to affect, their performance, how they're contributing, their moods. That all has to play into it. So I'm extremely honored to be able to have this responsibility for all these years. And I did look upon it as a very important responsibility that I had. I wanted to make sure that everyone got something out of the program, that they got better, to give them tools and everything. Even though some of the stuff they didn't want to do, they would come back later and say, well, I haven't missed that spare since we started doing all this training or such, which is kind of cool. But it's been just an honor. It's just been a privilege to be able to do this.
Yeah, and then you talk about those numbers, and then what I want to do, if it's okay, and then this may be a little bit difficult, but I want to go back even before Team USA. We're gonna spend some time talking about Team USA, but I'd like to kind of go back to the beginning because you coached all kinds of people, but you're not just coaching the best bowlers in the world. I mean, you started out coaching kids and seniors and your impact locally. But if you could just talk about that a little bit, but also the difference in the two.
I started, I was a bowler, bowling scratch and everything, and, kind of good, but not great, and tried to become a student of the game. Kind of fast forward, you talked about the pro shop, kind of ended up by an accident into the pro shop business. Local pro shop was going out of business. The individual that did it as a part-time his company was relocating and moving, had the pro shop up for sale. We kind of looked at it because that'd be kind of fun, kind of cool to do, start drilling bowling balls. And they wanted too much money. So I had a job. I had a 2-week vacation. I went to Canada on my 2-week vacation. And when I came back, apparently my dad decided that we had decided to be in the pro shop business. So we bought it. I learned how to drill, self-taught, learned how to study and drill bowling balls, but we were just doing it for ourselves, and teammates and, our national team and stuff like that. So that way we had some quality control and such. It started expanding, and it got to the point that all my off time, I was drilling bowling balls for friends of friends of friends of friends that were coming over. And it got to a point on the Sunday afternoons when I was trying to watch football, I had people knocking at the door wanting to get pro shop stuff done. So I had to decide, well, I either got to continue on in my industry or what I'm doing, or I got to quit and just go in the pro shop business. So ended up going in the pro shop business, freestanding shops. And then the more I knew about the game, the more I knew I didn't know. So we started doing videoing. And at the time, the video recording of VHS tapes, those are huge. And I bought a state-of-the-art system at the time that actually was on your shoulder and had a battery pack. And we would start filming releases and physical games and just studying the game. And I felt like the more I studied releases, the more I understand how to get fits. So that's where I really kind of got started to it. Then I found I had a knack to teaching it. People would get success. So I started pursuing that more. Our first freestanding pro shop, we had an old IBM PC, 2 floppy drives that we created a program that you could keep the ball specs. And we kept all the ball specs. For the people that are older out there, the dot matrix printers, if you don't know them, had a little round wheel going back and forth the way it print out. The printout sheets were on dot matrix, but we were using computers back in the mid 80s, for our ball specs. And I've been involved with computers ever since, and the coaching and just the application of it.
Yeah, and then you hit on the technology piece, so I'll go ahead and pop back in there. How do you go from, thinking about it that way, the computer, and then, developing a bowler's map and a Digitrax? I mean, just the brain food to make a decision to do that. Is it a toy? Are you tinkering? Are you playing around? Or did you set out and decide, hey, I'm going to go do this?
Especially in bowler's map, it started out as just a tool for myself. I just needed a easier way to index videos. We had VHS tapes, and we would play them, and then we would analyze them on the screen and do dry erase markers on the screen or tracing paper and such. And just needed a way. Computers were coming out, digital files. It started being a very easier way to do it. And it really got developed out of a need. It was just a personal start. And then some people seen it at a coaching convention, and there were some very expensive golf programs out there. And I showed them what we were doing. They said, well, you should start doing this for bowling. And I hadn't even thought of it at that time. And that led to Bowler's Map. Later on, when Digitrax came around, it was just a need to be able to have data and information, because I work with players of all ages, all sizes, shapes, abilities, and everything. But the real thing, what is going to make them better? And to be able to make them better, we have to know what's broken. And there's so many styles out there that you just can't say that, look at a video and look at their style and say, you need to fix this, because there's some great bowlers out there that you would never use as a model for other players. It's about, can they repeat? Where's their liability? So this was just, all those tools were just developed out of need, and all the tools ever since.
That's awesome. Gianmarc, you got anything for Rod?
I want to echo the sentiment that Chad shared earlier, which is a complete astonishment at the caliber of talent that Rod has presided over as head coach of Team USA. It's an incredible roster. I mean, these are some of the most impactful competitive bowlers in recent bowling memory that Rod has worked with. You mentioned Chris Barnes. I mean, Kelly Kulik, Shannon O'Keefe, and Bill O'Neill, and Walter Ray, and E.J. Tackett, and Jacob Buttroff. And I think about how all of those players, as great as they are players who learned something from Rod and benefited from the experience that he brought to the position. But at the same time, and this is my question for Rod, I wonder, Rod, what did you learn from working with the greatest players in the world over the course of your tenure with Team USA and even before that?
They taught me more than I ever taught them. I mean, that's obvious, but they always enable me to look at things differently, to see how they're doing, what makes them great. You brought up about Walter Ray, and it brings up a story that we were doing what we call ETAs. We're measuring consistency of elite training assessments. So we're looking at their consistency, and we were using CATS at the time, which is tracking ball motion, going down lane position, speeds, angles. And he come back and told us that our CATS was off because he's hitting 1.5, and the CATS was showing it at being 2. So he was actually his eye was so precise, and he was right. Those things need to be calibrated all the time, but it was about a half inch off, and
wow.
We were playing the short, and he come back and he told me that the information that CATS is given is wrong. So. Over the course of all the years, every technique we tried or we would try to do, we would sometimes get pushback because it would be different than what they were doing. One of the quotes Chris Barnes always said, and what competition do we do this at? Because we were doing a training drill of the 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 9. And we're trying to get through the ball motion going through the pins. And he says, well, again, what tournament do we do this at? So, they helped us learn. They would keep us on our toes, all the coaching staff, of what we were doing. But in the end, I think they all became much better. I mean, if you came to the training camps and they bowl with the lights off, that was an evolution of going with blindfolds. It goes all the way back to Nelson Burton talked about it back on the old ABC telecast about, bowling with blindfolds. And it evolved with the team that we rewired the ITRC so we could turn all the emergency lights off and everything and just get it completely dark. So it was a training technique, that evolution, but it's, the players helped us get it there.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's actually a nice segue, Gianmarc, to our first guest. We're going to bring in, I know, I'm not even sure how to describe Kim. Normally we would go through her resume, but here, personal relationship with Rod for a lot of years, used to coach Kim directly, but then also a colleague as part of the Team USA program. Please welcome Kim Terrell-Kearney to the show. Kim, how are you? Thanks for being here.
Oh, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
You guys have a unique bond, and if it's okay, we're going to step out a little bit and just kind of let you go back and forth. But Kim, help everybody understand how you got started with Rod as kind of the beginning. I mean, everybody knows that you guys have been coaching these teams together for a bunch of years and winning a bunch of medals. But how do you get started with somebody like Rod, and what's he meant to you?
So I was back home in California, and like he was talking about, he owned the pro shop that was, I don't know, maybe about 10 minutes away from our home. And I remember going to the shop and just sort of, I don't even know if he was doing ball work for me. I think he was. He was doing a ball for me, and kind of started describing some trouble I was having in my game. And he's like, well, why don't you, come back one day and we can work on it. And that was really the start of, all of this. We started working together and I started winning. And, I think the thing with Rod, I've always said as an instructor, as a coach, is that it wasn't anything that he said to me that was so different from anybody else that I'd worked with across the country during my career. It was just that he said it in a different way. And I've always said that I think his strength is that his ability to allow the player to feel what he wants them to do. Like all of us can kind of show it. We can say, this is what you're doing. This is what we want you to do, and find the perfect player to represent that. But I mean, he was such a physical coach that he would, we did all kinds of crazy things to, kind of capture the changes that I needed to make. But, I think that's really where it started. And, as his pro shop business grew and his coaching career grew, and he was involved with Team USA. And I remember going to his shop in Manteca, and it was about an hour and a half, I don't know, away from home. And, during one of my breaks on tour, and I said, hey, so I know that you're going to take over the junior team. My sister worked for United, and I said, can I just fly up there and just shadow? Like, I just want to learn this. I just want to understand it better. And he'd always talk about what a difficult player I was to coach, because I always needed to know why. It wouldn't be just do this will make you throw it better. It was just, but I would say, but why? And I think that, was just, again, his patience with me. And I think it's certainly why I've been able to get better as a coach and as a player.
If I could just segue to that, and JT knows what's coming. When you talked about Rod, coaching you, and then you started winning. One of my first memories personally of the two of you, but I think it was the first time I met Rod, was at a certain tournament in, I believe, Laughlin, that Rod was working with you. I was tour repping for Columbia on the PWBA tour at that time. But it's just kind of one of those odd things when I was thinking about this show. It's so amazing to me because I got to see firsthand how somebody like Rod and how he would apply it, to the bowler would result in something so special. And so I think JT's got a little bit of a video, but Kim, if you could just break what I'm talking about here, but obviously this is a big win in your career.
Right. So this is the U.S. Open in Laughlin, and long tournament. We were, Rod came kind of midway through, and I was having a good event, and he came in and he was like, I don't like these balls. Like, let's drill some other balls. Let's drill some weaker balls with stronger layouts and more surface. And, it was just, it just changed. I started out great at the event, and I started to struggle, and he came in and just sort of like, we're going to figure this out.
Done a lot of hard work to get to this moment.
I think the coolest part about this show is that, he convinced me that it was perfectly fine to throw one ball on one lane and another ball on the other. I would have never done that without that. And so,
yeah, well, I know that was a really special day for you. I won't spend too much time reminding you that both of you that I was playing for the other team that day with Wendy, and I remember wondering, why did Rod show up? What's this guy doing here? But anyway, Rod, if you don't mind a perspective there about, how you go about doing what Kim just shared.
There was a lot of trust on her side. I wasn't like a tour rep in any of that, so I was kind of like the outsider, and I was following behind her. And we decided to drill some balls, and we went out to the truck to see what we could find, and we ended up grabbing two of the cheapest, least expensive balls that they made, right? And we drilled out. I laid them out for the truck there, and I wanted a weight hole in one and not a weight hole in the other. And then we were going to use some surface, but we didn't want to use a lot of surface. I think you're just bogging down. And she ended up using them, which is she trusted it. And it was at the time, I don't think everyone else was sold on it. They weren't. There was only really two people sold on it in the building. It was myself and Kim. And I think she just thought that, I was so serious about it that she should do it, which, I want to tell her thank you for the trust, but it
And
was
Kim,
pretty
if,
cool.
if you don't mind, because that was such a watershed for me, because I was one of the ones on the other side that it didn't make a whole lot of sense at the time. But when you really think about that, and again, I think this is just so indicative of how Rod's brain works, right? It's just about, getting it done and thinking outside the box. But talk a little bit about, you guys are so unique to me because you started out with a local relationship. And now, how that's just years later and all the medals and everything. It's just so special. But that trust that he talked about, it doesn't happen without that, right?
No, it doesn't. I mean, there's been, so many times over the years, and there's been a lot of years as a player and as coach, coaches on the same staff that, we certainly didn't agree. We had very different ways to attack certain things. And, again, the Rod Ross is to think out of the box. And, there were times where I'm like, that makes no sense. There's no way that's going to work. And, I think myself and Brian and all the other folks that have been involved with the program over the years, we've learned to just give it a chance and just, as much as, on paper, we couldn't really figure it out. There were so many times where it really did work. And, I was, I had lived that. So, I appreciate that about him. There's, to this day, I call him, whether it's, working with my program here at North Carolina A&T and, I'm like, hey, what do you think I should do? This is what's going on. I can't quite figure this out. And, it'd always be something that almost felt like a little bit out of left field, but, I was like, yeah, I'd hang up and I go, that makes a little sense. Like, I guess I can see how that may work. So, I think that's what I appreciate most about him is, that never to try and fall in line with what everyone else was saying in the coaching world and in the industry. It was simply like, let's figure out how to solve this. And, what else can we do? What else can we try? And, that I think that takes guts. And, I admire him for that.
Yeah, just a quick perspective there. And Gianmarc, if you want to pop in for a question. My next question you just answered that I think is just so amazing, right? He was your teacher, probably your friend, but then he also, gave you the chops to do some coaching. And so I was going to say, well, how do you apply the coaching piece of it, right? Because you think about how all that comes together. It's just amazing. I mean, it's just incredible when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He didn't have enough reason to trust and believe in me to be a part of that junior team coaching staff. And, I guess there was something that he saw that said, I'm going to give her a try. And, I always talk about how I sort of started at the peak of the coaching world and coaching Team USA. And but I learned, while being with the best. And so, learning to coach the elite, and then, the years that we spent there at the training center, and, now being able to I think to work with every level of play in this game is just, again, he just helps me see it. He helps me figure out, like, how do we solve this? How do we make them better? What are the liabilities, and where can we, how can we limit those?
And okay, so Rod, every teacher has a student that they decide to invest in. We always say, hey, we're investing in everyone. But why Kim? What'd she have?
She wanted to know why. There's so many coaches or players. You can break them down. It's not as simple as two, but there's two styles. And that going back to the real old days, there was the Kim and the Leanne style. Leanne would do it. Whatever he asked, she'd try and just go do it. Kim wanted to know why. It had to make sense to her of why. And that is important because you have to have someone that's always questioning what you're doing. It was another asset when we brought Brian O'Keefe came into the program too, because there were some interesting conversations the three of us had in my office about, Rod, why are you doing that? Why do you think this works? And we would go back and forth. But you need that on a team to be a stronger team. You can't just have, yes people. And so or just do it and not tell you that it doesn't make sense to them. So in reality, they made me a better coach because I had to be able to explain it. And there's times that we changed it. There's times when we would adjust it. But we would talk it out and try to make sense of it all to make the player better.
Well, congratulations to both of you, because I think it's just such an amazing thing. And I think every student, and every teacher, the relationships are just so much different. But I think that piece of business of asking why is something that's so important. So good for you, Kim. At this point in time, if you don't mind, JT, we've got some other, friends that have sent in some videos. If you don't mind, we're going to, and Kim, if you can just hang in there with us the rest of the way, we're going to go through a little process here. So just pop in whenever you want. And Gianmarc, if you will, first question after we
Sure.
say hi to a few folks.
Yep.
Congratulations, Rod, on your retirement. Your legacy in the bowling industry on both the national and international stage will live forever. I will always cherish the time I spent learning from you. I thank you, Rod, for your support of my growth, Team USA, and the sport we all love. Walking in your shadow will certainly be no easy task, but we will strive to do so with honor and upon the strong foundation you built for all of us. Thanks again. Have a wonderful retirement.
Hey, Rod, I just want to take a second and congratulate you on retirement. I didn't know they let 25-year-olds retire, but but in all seriousness, we've talked quite a bit, and I've told you about how much your mentorship has meant to my development within not only the industry, but more specifically the coaching industry. So no one's more deserving than yourself to just relax, go camping, have some fun, and just enjoy life. So once again, congratulations, and thank you for everything throughout the years.
Hey, Rod, I just want to say congratulations on your retirement. I'm sure you were excited to go camping and just hang out and chill out. You've worked so hard for this industry, and you've worked so hard for us. All of this behind me would not be possible without you and without you putting up with my sass. So I'm sure you're going to miss that. So I'll make sure to give you calls regularly to continue with my sassiness. But for real, thank you so much for everything you've done. Thank you for everything you've taught me and how much you've given this sport and to this team. We love you. We will miss you, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Hey, Rod, congratulations on an amazing career with Team USA. I truly enjoyed every minute that I spent with the program, and you were a huge part of that. So thank you very much, and congrats again.
Hey, Rod, I want to thank you for everything you did for the Team USA program. And I want to thank you for sharing your knowledge with so many people around the world, definitely including me. Also, on a personal note, I will always remember the amazing time we had in Hong Kong bringing home the gold. You and Teresa deserve the best. I wish you nothing but great things in your retirement.
Rod, I just want to say thank you for everything you've ever helped me with throughout my bowling career, both as a player and as a person. It's been an honor working with you for over 20 years now on both Team USA and Team USA. I did win my first gold medal with you as my head coach. I have a ton of memories on this team, so I greatly appreciate everything you've ever done for me, and I wish you nothing but the best in your future retirement.
Well,
Wow.
Gianmarc.
Yeah, that's great, and it gets to a question that I've been having storming around my mind for Rod, because Rod, you asked a great question a little early in this conversation, which is what makes these players great, and that was a question that you found yourself thinking about as you're working with so many great players. We just saw a bunch of them there, and we're in the presence of another in Kim Kearney here. So I wanted to ask you, Rod, as you were working with all these great players, were there any common denominators to their greatness that struck you as a recipe for greatness? Were there things that maybe there were some kind, maybe intangibles or something that all these, or maybe most of these players seemed to possess that struck you as that common denominator to greatness?
I think their attention to detail, and they would rise for the moment. There's some that would, when it came down to the pressure, just wanted to be there. But the really good ones, they wanted to be there in such a big way, and they would rise. Their performance would go, would skyrocket. I mean, I got to watch or participate, some of the greatest bowlers in the world, but I got to watch some greatness at times that you just don't get to see all the time. And, they're great players, but I got to see times when greatness came out, and it was exciting. I'm getting goosebumps now when you talk about it, because a lot of people don't get to witness that. And the thing about being a coach is we're there all the time for all the shots, all the games. And I got to see some phenomenal events and some performances that I just were awe-inspiring. So yeah, there's a reason they're great, and it's just not what their performance is, what they have inside of them that would come out.
Yeah.
So it was a privilege.
And Kim, I'm going to ask Rod a question, and then if you don't mind, just follow with your kind of perspective. But that group that just went through there, right? You've got number one female bowler in the world. You've got the number two and male bowler in the world, and Bill O'Neill. We could haggle over whether he's 2, 3, or 4, but we'll give him number 2 for the sake of this conversation. Then you get into Brian and Andy on the coaching side, and it really, Rod, what are you thinking when they're talking about you?
Wow. It's just I'm appreciative. It's quite moving. I was taken back. I mean, you did mention when I came in here with my, had no really preconceived what we're going to, what we're going to do. We're kind of keeping it kind of quiet and everything, but I'm speechless basically. I mean, those are some of the best. They are some of the best players and coaches in the world. I mean, it is great though. I feel that the program has contributed to the bowling in the country and in the world. So many of our coaches are now head coaches at colleges. A lot of our players now are coaching at the college level, helping high school points. So it's continuing on. It's going to help to grow this industry, grow the sport.
Or Kim, were you jumping in there? I don't want to step on anyone's.
Yeah, I guess, there's just so much that I want to share about the time that I was involved with the program with Rod. And, I think it's important that, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this, that it doesn't get lost that some of the things that he's done, like no one in the world has done. And I don't know if I can see being repeated, winning the world championships at the men, women, and youth, numbers of times, all in 1 year we did that Thailand and Hong Kong, I think it was, and the guys won in Germany, maybe it was. I hope I have that right. But, that's just incredible. Mm-hmm. And, there's been times, I'm reminded when Carolyn talked about Hong Kong, that I think that was probably when he talked about being able to witness some of the best bowling, the best bowlers being at their best. And, to me, that is still one of the strongest memories I've had in seeing players just rise to the occasion. They put on a show there against, I'm pretty sure it was Singapore, which, obviously we all know they have an enormous amount of talent on their young team, and just, played like I've never seen anything like that. And there's something to being able to collect the best players in the world and get them to go after one goal. It's not enough. There's plenty of we see it with sporting teams all over in every sport that, talent doesn't just do it. And he was able to corral all of these incredibly interesting personalities and talents and get them to do this, and so I think that is incredibly impressive. And it was just awesome to be a part of, and certainly to watch.
I want to kind of cut in here just a second. The greatness in Hong Kong on the women, it was the title match, and we were leaving kind of corner pins, and we're trying to, it's a 1-game match, winner take all, silver or gold. And about second, third frames on the players wanting to move, and we said, just be patient, the lane's coming to us. And shortly after that, they ran as a team 17 strikes in a row. So we had 3 full frames. So we had all these turkeys, 4-baggers, as a team, that was phenomenal. And it just kept going and going and going. And the energy there, and talk about a runaway from a title. But that was fun to watch.
Gianmarc, you want to Got a question?
Rod spoke pretty passionately about having a front row seat to times when greatness came out of the players that he was coaching. I was wondering if there were any specific examples in particular that come to mind for you, Rod, that you'd like to share with us.
Oh, there's so many of them, and it's I would have to probably spend some time and write all the notes down. But there were some key ones. There were some ones that we came back from behind. I think that the ones that were huge, the two that were very impressive was the Hong Kong with the women and the guys up in Germany. The men's team, it was bowling at Dream Bowl, and Dream Bowl is a 3-story bowling center. The biggest crowds I've ever seen in a bowling facility. And we were bowling Finland for the title. And it was loud. I mean, people were packed, and you had the stands behind the bowling lanes and then a balcony above that, and that was full. And then you had people on the third level up there that were yelling. And there was some talk going back and forth as the match went on. There was, they were getting a little chippy. The Europe, it was basically Europe against America is kind of what it was, USA. And the crowd was surprised because a lot of times when we travel, you're the favorite, so no one cheers for you. Everyone kind of likes to see you lose. But the crowd was a lot of them behind, and so some of the crowd started cheering USA, and then the spectators were going back and forth at it. And then the Europeans were saying, about their tour, and then of course Tommy had the famous quote back there, that there's only one real tour after he struck and run it out. But it came down to the 10th frame, and Tommy had to strike, and the place just went nuts, and it was the most energy that I've ever seen to this day in a bowling event. I mean, if we could bottle that up and then show it to other people, they're sure would get behind the sport. But it's something that wasn't planned; it just happened. But yeah, it was it was going back and forth, and we were behind in the 7th, 8th frame. We had to come back from behind. Finland's a very, very good team, and the 10th frame was just it was a heavyweight fight, boxing match going back and forth, strike to strike, and it was a great experience.
Every time I've seen that video, Tommy. So it's just incredible. But there's lots to it. We've got another group. For those of you that are watching, we're going to be here for a while, so just hang in there with us. We got lots to talk about with this wonderful career. But JT, if you don't mind sending in the next group.
Hey, Rod, just want to congratulate you on your retirement from Team USA. I want to thank you for everything you did for myself and for the team and for our country. God bless and best wishes, Rod.
Rod, you are an amazing coach, and I'm so honored and privileged to have the opportunity to have traveled the world with you, win some gold medals, and bowl and learn from your eye. One of the things that I'm going to miss the most from you is the crazy antics we used to do during Team USA camp to help me improve my bowling game. I'll never forget any of that. But I wish you and Teresa the best, and congratulations on retirement, and hope you enjoy every minute of it.
Hey, Rod. Andrew Anderson here. I just want to say thank you for your years of service to Team USA and everything you've done for me in my career. It doesn't go unnoticed, and I really hope you enjoy retirement.
Hi, Coach. Congratulations on your retirement. You have been a pivotal part of my competitive career since I was 15 years old, but you've also been an important part in shaping me into the coach that I have become today. I will forever be grateful for your guidance and your faith in me. Enjoy your retirement, Coach. You deserve it.
Hey, Coach Rod, it's Gigi here. When I first found out, I was like, oh my, because you mean so much to the bowling community and so much to the Team USA program. And I can't thank you enough for all that you've taught me and all the help that you provided me. And just thank you for everything. I truly appreciate it and wish you nothing but the best.
Hey, Coach, I just wanted to thank you for all the years that you've put in at the Team USA program, particularly the years I got to work with you. You gave me a chance to be on this team. You gave me the opportunity to be a gold medalist, and have taught me a lot through the years at the Team USA camps and all the tournaments I've been attending. And you've had faith in me as a player and to perform, and I really appreciate that. And Team USA is going to miss you. USBC is going to miss you. And I wish the very best for you and your wife in your retirement. Good luck.
Hey, Rod, it's Chris Vi. I just want to say thank you very much for all of your help over the last 9 years that I've personally known you, whether it be bowling advice, travel advice, or just overall life advice. It's meant a great deal to me, and I couldn't be more thankful for it. So I hope you have a fantastic retirement and you continue to enjoy all those tech gadgets that you love so much. So take care.
Coach Rod, heard the news this morning that you're going to be retiring from the Team USA program. Thank you for everything that you've done, especially for my game over the last, almost 20 years now. Wishing you and Coach T a wonderful retirement, lots of long rides on the Harley, and a beautiful future. So thanks again for everything, and best of luck.
And so, Rod, with this group here, and I think this is one of those unique perspectives, and I have no idea what you're going to say here, but so many of these students started out as your junior team. And then they progress, and some of them, of course, make the national team or win PBA titles or PWBA titles. But some of them, PJ is an example there. I know you've got a California relationship with him. He's just a success in life. So usually when the coaches come in and we interview them, everybody wants to coach the junior team. Not to say that as a piece of reflection, but what's it mean to you to watch these kids, these athletes, of course, but these young adults, and you help them take the next step?
It's tough to put in words because I've been able to see them grow and develop, and all of a sudden they started having relationships, and then they started getting married, and then they started having kids, and it's some of them end up going. We've seen some great players that decided to leave the industry. They decided to pursue whether it being a doctor or a lawyer, PJ and investments and everything, but it's humbling to be able to sit there that these were the high school or, some of them just entering high school kids that you're in Colorado Springs and you just had a very early start on their career, to see the individuals, the quality of individual that they developed into. It's one thing that, they say, well, you make the team, junior team and Team USA, but it's more than that. It's a fraternity, but it's a class. There's a president. One thing that we always used to teach them is that your life is never going to be the same. Once you're on this team and you walked in that door, no matter you look yourself the same, the world will not look at you the same. And, more often, very rarely did they disappoint after that. Once in a while we'd hear about someone kicking a ball return or something, and it does get back to us. But, all those, they wore USA on their back, whether they were competing against us, they were in their local bowling center, whatever to do. And, it's humbling to be able to see the quality of individuals that the program has turned out.
It's just amazing, and I appreciate the perspective. Kim, if you don't mind, I know you've watched a lot of this too, and Rod leading it, but I said this earlier, and I really mean it. I just don't think there's ever been a job, right? A job that was more perfectly fit for a person than Rod. And that being this job, it's just amazing when you listen to him talk and you think about it, but you've had a front row seat to it for a very long time because it's not a job. But how would you describe that, thinking about Rod?
Yeah. I sort of look back with almost a tear in my eye to, it doesn't feel like it's been that many years since, I always tell the story of Josie. I'm not sure she was 15. Every time I tell the story, she's like, I think she gets younger every time. Her grandmother's like, Josie, you get out of those boys' rooms. I thought, she was just this tiny little thing. But, it really has been eye-opening, I think, when we look, you look back and you look at the success, whether, like you said, whether it's on the lanes or off the lanes of, these really unique, talented young people that we were fortunate enough to have our hand in their success and their future. And, it warms my heart to hear them talk about the influence that he had on their game and on their lives. And I think it's, you know, it's well deserved for them to give these testimonies, because it, you know, I believe it's all incredibly true.
Gianmarc, you have anything before we bring another group in?
Yeah. You know, you guys have talked about some Team USA players going on to have success in life away from the lanes. I wanted to drill down on that a little bit, if we could. Rod and Kim, you know, you're both coaches who have had experience coaching with Team USA. What are the ways in which the things players learn going through the Team USA program, the values that are instilled in them through that experience, apply to life away from the lanes and apply to having success in realms other than bowling?
I would think character is probably at the top of the list, you know, quality of the person that you are. And then I would also say a great work ethic, you know, that's whatever they're trying to do, they're striving to do it better and trying to find ways to be better. But character would have to be, I mean, there's class.
Yeah.
And learning to, you know, to embrace that, you know, that's something that's important. You know, win, lose, or draw. I mean, the class that our players would represent the sport in this country, win or lose, was something I was always proud of.
That's great. JT, you got another.
Those were things that were discussed at camp.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying those are the things that were discussed at camp, at youth camp. And they're like, these are the things that, you know, if you're going to be, and you are a part of this program, that this is, you know, now you represent a thing far bigger than before. You know, you're representing now your country, and who you are and how you show up matters. And I think that they took that to heart and recognized that with success also comes responsibilities.
So well said, right? There's a responsibility to it. It's immense. JT, you have another group of people waiting at the front door to get in here.
It's been many years, but my time with you was life-changing, and I know you've changed the lives of many of the athletes, and we thank you. We thank you from the bottoms of our heart. Hope you have a wonderful retirement.
Coach Rod, I just want to say thanks for everything that you did for me and all the rest of the team for all those years, and had a lot of great times, and like I said, learned a lot from you, and I just want to say thanks again, and I know we'll definitely be in touch.
Rod, congratulations on your retirement. You know, many years ago, I met you at a silver conference when Bowler's Map was first brought out. I remember having some conversations with you about Bowler's Map, and I knew immediately I was around somebody very. I want to thank you for the opportunity you've given me the last several years to be a part of your team at Team USA. You know, every time I'm around you, Rod, I leave a better coach and a better person, and I thank you for that. So for your retirement, Rod, I wish you all the best. Enjoy your retirement, relax, and again, thank you for all you've done for the game of bowling.
Well, I've just heard the news, and you know, I tell Rod Ross, I guess, congratulations for being rid of us finally. Here with the ball, maybe my most fond memory with Rod at the World Cup, where we got to spend a weekend in Poland. We ended up re-drilling this ball and ended up shooting 300 on in the step ladder with it and winning the World Cup. And I certainly could not have accomplished that without all his help. Man, best of luck the next way, you know, whatever's next for you. And, you know, congratulations on probably the best run in the history of Team USA. Much appreciated, Coach, for everything you've done for us.
Pretty amazing. Anything, you know, you got some pretty amazing people saying some pretty amazing things.
Yeah. I'm surprised Chris has that ball still. The story is he like he says, you know, smoke and mirrors, but you know, his ball reaction was terrible. And at the time, the rules would not let us check in another ball. You know, we were limited to how many balls we had. But the rules allowed that there was nothing against re-drilling a ball. So, and of course, the pro shop there was the bowling center was in a mall. The pro shop was in a kind of a closet. All they had was quick plug, and that's why you see the white plug on it. But you know, we re-drilled that ball in a different layout just to try to get them something. And the rules been changed now. We can contribute that. We had a piece of that, why that rule no longer exists. So now the inspector, if how many holes there are and how many plugs are in it, and you can't replug a ball in a competition. But it was perfectly legal at the time, and that was a funny looking ball going down the lane. If you can see all those white plugs, where the finger holes and thumb were, but it definitely looked like eloping. But he bowled 300 with it, so that was pretty cool. Win the World Cup.
Yeah, Kim, if you don't mind, you probably have, second only to Rod, the most personal relationships with all of these players, even the ones, back to, before you were coaching that go back up a couple decades now. If you don't mind trying to summarize, if you asked all of these folks what they'd say about Rod, not in congratulations and thank you, right? That's what they're going to say. How would you put a few words together that might explain, all of these players in a summary?
What they would say about him? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I think I lost
just
you.
their
I
experiences.
confused the question.
Yeah, their experiences, their relationship
Yeah.
with Rod. How would they describe? I mean, in some cases it's psychologist. In some
Yeah.
cases he's supporting. In some cases it's just hey, we got to go get this done. But how would you describe how they would go about describing his role as coach?
I would venture to say that many of them would applaud him for his creativity, and I guess, and I want to use the word diligence. We talk about the hard work that the players have put in, and to get to the point that they were, working with the elite in the world. But I think what Rod brought, again, all the things that he described, that the factors that they brought, which is work ethic and attention to detail. Those are the things that he brings. And there were times where I was like, oh my Lord, what are you doing? We're not going to be ready. We're not going to, because all of it he keeps in his head sometimes. And I'm on the other end of it where I'm constantly trying to plan ahead, and we would sit there and battle about that. But it was all very straight when it came down to it, about what he intended to do and holding on to what he believed was right. And I respect that, because, again, when you have the Chris Barnes of the world and the Carolyn Doran Ballards and people who have, and Walter Ray, who have found success on their own, and for them to trust Rod Ross and Kim Kearney and Brian O'Keefe, for them to place their trust in us when we're saying, hey, use this, play here, do that, there has to be a degree of confidence that you can portray so that they believe in you and trust what you're doing. And I think that has always been his strength.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I hope that made sense.
It did. It makes very good sense. I mean, I think it might even be more difficult, right? And I used to say, when people would say, hey, how do you coach? And I said, well, a lot of those folks, they don't need coaching. They already know how to bowl. But it's more difficult in some cases to coach that group than it would be someone starting out. And that's kind of what I took away from what you said there. And Rod makes it just looks like it's easy, right? And I know it's not. JT, you got one? Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
You're
I just
good.
got to throw one more thing in there. And I think the thing that I have learned most from him as a coach is that you have to be willing and able to change for whomever you're working with. And that is, like, there's sort of one way I like to teach. I feel like that's my strength. That's the way I'm most effective. Well, not everybody learns that way. So being able to turn on a dime to this player learns this way, this player learns this way. That's what he taught me. And to continue to just look for more ways to teach maybe the same thing. But the point is, when are they going to get it? Because you get it when you get it, and you got to continue to just putting it in front of them, and whatever way they're going to finally grasp it. And that's, I hold on to that every day, because there's days where I'm like, oh my God, how come, we're not getting this yet? I'm like, because I haven't taught it to you in the way that you need to learn it. And I'm grateful for that from him.
one of you will write a book. I hope that you write it
I'll be
together, and I'll absolutely be the first one to buy it, because I think what you just laid out there, Kim, is just it's got to be the hardest part about it. I mean, it's just all and doing it and for the collective good, right? The team piece of it is a whole nother angle. You're bringing all these great athletes who are these great individual players into a collective good. It's just amazing. JT, you got Mark Baker hanging out there in the hallway?
Hey, Rod, Mark Baker here. Congratulations on a job well done. Your work with Team USA, nothing short of amazing. Unbelievably great job with the program. On a personal note, I really enjoyed the 3 years we got to work together, whether on the lanes, doing a camp, or just having a meal. Finally, get in that motorhome of yours. You and Teresa go find the most off-the-wall places you can camp and really enjoy yourself. One last thing. If we're ever in the Dominican Republic again, I get to pick the cab driver. And be safe.
If you don't mind, Rod, tell the cab driver story, but I also want to bring somebody else into this who that was a nice segue for Mark. If you don't mind, tell the DR story, but we're going to ask Teresa to step in here too as part of the show.
We had taken the team down into a scenic part of the Dominican and had dinner. It was one of the few evenings that we had off, and we were using Ubers. And so we sent most of the team back with the manager and everything, and me and Mark stayed back waiting for the second Uber, just to get back. And the Uber canceled on us several times. So we ended up walking quite a ways, and we found a cab driver that would take us back. And this guy, traffic lights don't mean anything. Speed limits, nothing. You could tell he didn't start the meter, so it was off the books. It was not being metered, and he literally went up to an intersection, and it was four lanes wide with a turn lane, and he went up on the curve over to the right, and they came in and parked right in front in the crosswalk, right in front of all three lanes. And waiting there, and a police officer come over to him and started talking to him. He said, "I'll move in a minute." Well, he wanted to turn left in front of all these lanes and such. I mean, right out in the middle of it. Mark was grabbing the seat. It was an eventful ride. So the small little things you find when you travel internationally.
Yeah, very, very cool. Hey, we're going to invite Ms. Teresa Ross into the show. They are going to certainly not conform to our social distancing guidelines, but if it's okay with you all, it's certainly okay with me. Teresa, can you hear me? How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. There you go. Teresa's going to move in. Teresa, if you don't, and again, these are these things that are just pretty cool that I think that maybe a lot of folks don't realize, but there is, certainly someone else that's taken this ride with Rod. So in all of this, what's it like to, hang out with a guy every day that's got 25 world championships?
Well, be nice.
That's a good question. When we get home, we pretty much don't talk about bowling very much. It's been great. I mean, we get along so well and we work together so well. When we had our facility in Manteca, I would pretty much take not the elite athletes, but the beginner athletes. And then I would get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm done, and send them off to Rod. When I get home, he's studying or looking at something or learning more about the sport, or it's just been really interesting.
She's very humble. She was assistant coach on the junior team for a lot of years, very instrumental in the development of a lot of those players. Very great coach. It's exciting to see the eyes lighten up in the junior players that she works with. So yeah, there wouldn't be a Rod Ross without a Teresa. There's just no way.
I don't think it'll be a surprise to anybody. I think everybody knows that Teresa works here as part of the USBC coaching department. But what you may not be aware of too, and I just want to echo kind of what Rod's saying there. Teresa is a wonderful coach in her own right. Certainly kids, high school in this area, but also she takes at times our new employees who aren't bowlers, and she invites them down to the training center, and And she kind of runs them through and shows them the basics. Share with everybody what that's like. I mean, we're sitting here talking about coaching the pros, but you're just as accomplished across this entire platform.
Thanks. So I really like working with beginners. I think they're easier to mold. They're definitely much easier than the elite athlete, I can tell you that. You can kind of fix things easier. You can see things easier. So here we have our employees that come in that aren't bowlers. And we bowl the Open Championships or the Women's Championships every year. And to help them get acquainted with that feel, we have a clinic for them and we go through the basics, you know, the 4-step approach, how to pick up the ball, lane courtesy, just so when they go to the event that they're comfortable and that they can have a good time. It's really a lot of fun working with them.
Yeah, that's amazing. You guys, you don't talk about bowling at all? Is that true, Kim? I know you've been over there. They don't talk about coaching at all when they go home?
If Teresa has anything to do with it.
Thanks for that. Because I would assume that is, you know, Rod's thinking about this all the time. I mean, winning world championships, all that go with that. But again, Teresa, I would just, you know, we're certainly celebrating Rod and thanking him for his service. But if we didn't spend a little time thanking you for some of the sacrifices that you've made here to the betterment of bowling, and I would actually kick it back to Rod. Rod, how would you describe Teresa's role in all of this?
Oh, she was the one that gave me the push that, you know, should be doing that. She took the leap of faith when she quit her job and decided to go in the pro shop business with me. And we created the training center, and, you know, she sacrificed everything, and with a belief that we could help people get better. And it was kind of interesting that when we sold our pro shop, the individual that bought the pro shop wasn't too happy about 6 months, 8 months later, because they weren't doing the numbers that we were doing. Well, there was a reason we did the numbers. It just wasn't the pricing of the balls on the wall. It's what you brought to the facility, brought to the people. And, you know, I wouldn't even be close in my career if it wasn't for Teresa, because, you know, she helped me see things clearly at times. She told me when I was an ass, you know, at more than once, but, you know, kept me in check. But, yeah, it's, you know, most people don't get the opportunity to work with their spouse and be able to enjoy a life away from the lanes and a life on the lanes and working together and working every day, you know. So, yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I don't think either one of us would be here without each other. We bring the best out in each other.
Aww. Teresa, do you have a you know, memory of the team that stands out for you? That, you know, you think about all these years and everything that's happened. Is there anything for you that stands out that was just, you know, something memorable?
Yeah. So when we were all coaching the junior team and we went on trips, we were always trying to scout the lanes out ahead of time. And, you know, I would run down one end and somebody else would run down the other end and check the lanes to see what they were doing. Well, we became the first ones to use headsets, because it was tiring running back and forth and trying to get through all the people. So we started off using headsets to communicate to each other, and then other countries picked up on it, so they started doing it. I don't think they do that anymore, but it was pretty cool. I always remember that, and I think that was one of the most exciting times, just being able to communicate easier and get the job done.
I'm not surprised that the two of you, that story would be related to technology and an improvement within it. I'm not even a little bit surprised about that. So thanks for that. Kim, if you don't mind, you have anything that you would ask Teresa as part of this segment?
Well, you know, I know that, you know, I've worked alongside Teresa as long as I've worked alongside Rod. And so much of that already that's been said is, you know, they certainly do bring out the best in each other. And I think what's cool about their relationship is they encourage and promote confidence in each other with all the strengths that they have. And I think that's really admirable as a couple. You know, that Teresa has been, gosh, it feels like the backbone so much. And so much of what we've done as a coaching staff, especially early on with that junior team, and just making sure that, you know, all the pieces were in place when we got to training camp. And, you know, sometimes didn't always get to do all the glamorous stuff. And, you know, I just hope that she understands how important she was to what we've done. And I know the players do that were in a part of that program in those years. So I'm grateful. She's made me a better coach. And, you know, I certainly miss our friendship. I miss being in Texas, you know, primarily because of these two. They make me better.
Thanks, Kim.
Sappy.
Teresa, I'm curious, what's something that maybe the bowling world doesn't know so much about Rod that you think they should or would like them to know? It doesn't even have to be anything having to do with bowling.
He's a homebody. He likes to have his downtime,
That's for sure.
watch his football. Doesn't like to go out with a lot of crowds. I think the only time you see him in a crowd is when he's coaching. After that, he gets home and it's like, okay, it's just him and football, and, you know, wife, make me dinner.
Oh, really?
Just kidding. He doesn't say that.
Wow. Well, there's something. Yeah, so that's actually a nice segue to one of the questions that I wanted to ask. And, you know, I always, this world's been a little crazy, right? We just, everybody that travels knows that we're all home now. And I always, you know, say, well, you know, it's working out. You know, Jen's figuring it out now that I'm home every day, where, you know, I used to come and go, and now I'm more involved. So he's going to be home a lot more. He's going to be around the house a little. Are you excited about it? Are you? I mean, what's going to be different about that?
Be honest, Teresa.
Hopefully, some laundry gets done. It's not really going to be that much different because I'm still working, so I don't see him during the day, and then I get home at night. That's probably the biggest difference, is that he's home when I get home, where normally he's not home till like 10 o'clock or whatever. So sometimes he'll have a steak on the grill. He'll cook for me when I get home. So yeah, it's different, but it's also still the same in some ways, I'd say.
Good kind of different, I hope.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Well, awesome. This has been a great a period of time, and we're going to, you know, kind of wind it down the way that we ramped it up, if it's okay. But I really do appreciate, you know, everybody that's been a part of this. Kim, do you have any, you know, last thoughts that you'd like to share? I know it's always tough to, you know, kind of put a topper onto something that spans a couple, or if not 3 decades, but do you have any last thoughts that you'd like to share as part of the show?
I think, you know, obviously he knows how grateful I am, but you know, I'll again continue to say publicly that I thank him for the opportunity to be a part of, you know, I think all of the fantastic things that he did, not just for Team USA, but just in the game of bowling. So I'm grateful for that. And yeah, gosh, as everyone else has already said, it's a well-deserved break. I don't imagine that, you know, he's going to take some time to rest, but I think there's still more to come. I think there's so much more that he has to offer this game and this sport. And I don't think his brain's just going to click off now that he's not coaching this program or working at the training center. I think that, you know, I'll continue to kind of dip into that wealth of knowledge, and you know, I'm just, again, I'm grateful. Thank you, Rod, for letting me hang on for this ride. It's been amazing.
Well, Kim, thanks for being here today, and thanks for what you do for the program and bowling, but also this relationship. We really enjoyed kind of tapping into your brain today and understanding the relationship a little better. So stay safe and healthy, and just really appreciate you being a part of the day. Gianmarc, you have any thing that you'd like to ask Rod or Teresa before we start to wind it down?
What is ahead for you guys? People mentioned in their videos camping. Someone mentioned a Harley. Sounds like some adventures are ahead for you, Rod. What can you tell us about that?
Well, we're downsizing. We have way too big of a house, I had a bunch of pro shop equipment and everything, and I sold most of that. Guess I was thinking I was going to open a pro shop as in my retirement, and I've been sitting on that for 10, 12 years plus.
Longer.
It got a ball collection I got to reduce. I don't know why someone collects bowling balls. But yeah, I got a bunch of the old stuff. But we bought we've liked to camp. We've had a different type of RV and camper or tent camping, forever. And we bought a fifth wheel last year, decided to upgrade again and get something a little bit better because it's kind of funny when you're young, you're in the tent and you're making fun of the people with the big RVs. And then when you get older and everything, you're kind of making fun of the people in the tents because it's amazing how it goes full circle. But there's some of that, and got to get the Harley hasn't ran in about 10 years, so it's going to be a good project. Got two, she's got one.
Nice.
So we'll see if we can't get them out on the road and do a little bit, but it's there's plenty of time.
Yes.
Thank you. Gianmarc, thanks for being here today. We appreciate it. Same thing. Stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you next time. I was going to stay away from what's next, mostly because I full-heartedly agree with what Kim said, that I am very interested in seeing what's next. I know that your brain has always been in service of bowling, and so I'm interested to kind of see what that goes and how it works out for you. But I do thank you for your service, and we appreciate everything that you've done for this program. Teresa, if you don't mind, if you want to just share something to close, and then Rod, you can follow, and then we'll close the show.
You're an awesome coach. There's a lot of people that can't coach their spouses. I think we're one of the exceptions. Contrary to popular belief, I was actually a bowler before I met Rod, and I was actually a coach before I met Rod.
Yes.
But he made me better. I am better today as a bowler than I ever was. My average is the highest it's ever been, and it's all because of him and because I choose to listen and I believe what he tells me. So thank you for that. And congratulations on your retirement.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to tell the bowling community, thank you for the trust in me all these years with your elite. There were so many executive directors and committees and chairpersons that we've gone through, team managers. One that hasn't been mentioned that needs to be mentioned is Pat Winkles. Thank you for your faith, your belief to push me to do what I do. But there's been the program's huge, and the program has had so many people come in through that all contributed. And it's just been overwhelming, the trust. And it's been a fun ride. It wasn't an easy decision because everyone likes to get on the roller coaster again. I mean, let's do this again. This is great. But as the year taught us, the world's different. The world's changed and perspectives started looking different. So, regretfully, I'm not going to be on that roller coaster anymore. And it was a great ride. It really was. Thank you, everyone in the bowling industry that supported us, supported the team, all the players, and all the coaches.
Well, thank you, Rod. Thank you for your service, and Teresa for the support and everything that you've done all these great years. I couldn't say it better than what Rod just said. I always try to bottle it up. He's been serving this industry, this sport, this wonderful sport of bowling for such a long time. And it goes back decades. And I know there's a lot of folks out there that do the same thing. And I just, when we see it, it's hard not to just really appreciate it and call it out. So again, Rod, I just really appreciate your service to the industry. Team USA means different things to different people. And, it's a talking point today that I think is important now more than ever. We had to, shut down this program for a year, and we can't wait to get it back up and running. And we will do that when it's safe. And, we're waiting on some information from World Bowling, which will come in due time about the schedule and those types of things. But we're looking forward to being back on the lanes and competing and being aspirational for all of those kids who really look at that team the way that Rod does, and the way it is for so many, and just wanting to be better and do better. I want to thank everybody that's was a part of this show, either in person or through video. That was a lot of fun and listening to you. But thanks to Rod and Gianmarc, and certainly Kim. I want to apologize for Tommy Jones. For those of you that tuned in to see Tommy today, we'll do that later on. He had an emergency at home. I think everybody's safe and healthy, but at the same time, he couldn't make it. And then also thank JT for his production of this wonderful show. And so I would just close by, again, Rod, the trailblazer, always the teacher and educator and instructor, a coach of the red, white, and blue. Delivered hundreds of medals in 25 World Championships, 7 Pan Am golds, in addition to 3 World Cup titles. The World Championship team gold medals collectively for men, women, boys, and girls all at the same time in an unprecedented way, all in the service to the sport he's been dedicated to his entire life. I look forward very much to sitting in the audience and listening to Rod deliver his Hall of Fame speech in the not too distant future, and I just can't wait for that. I think it'll be a wonderful night for everyone involved. To the entire bowling world, thanks for taking the time. Be safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time.